On November 10th, I uploaded a video about how to navigate a loved one who either suppresses or represses their emotions. Well, in the moments I included for December 19th through 21st in my book, Losing Linda May, A Cancer Caregiving Memoir, the difference between how my mom and dad handled their emotions really came to a head. My parents arrived in New York City on the 19th ahead of the start of the second cycle of my mom's experimental trial at a cancer research institute, and the first thing that my dad did when he got to the apartment was find an excuse for him and I to leave and have my mom stay behind so that he could have an honest conversation with me about how he was feeling about the trial and the likelihood that my mom was just ultimately going to pass away. And he did that because he knew he couldn't communicate those feelings to my mom. They could not have an honest dialogue about what was going on, because if he would broach that subject, she would just break down and accuse him of giving up on her. But here's the thing. My mom had complained to me every day of the first cycle of her trial about taking the capsules once a day. She had 7 or 8 capsules, I can't remember the exact amount, that she just had to take in the morning. But even that annoyed her. And in the grand scheme of cancer treatments, that is the most minimal lift. She wasn't going to an infusion center. She didn't have to get chemotherapy. There weren't any major side effects from taking the capsules. So you would think that she would just accept the fact that this was the only thing that could possibly keep her alive and make peace with the fact that she just had to take some capsules in the morning. But no, it annoyed the crap out of her. And a major contributing factor was just that her spirits had gotten progressively worse. She didn't want to be making the trek to and from Kansas and New York City. She didn't want to be in my tiny 1-bedroom apartment. She wanted to be in her comfortable house. In fact, when she was back in Kansas, she hardly left her home or even her bedroom. She hated how she looked. The steroids had made her so puffy. She had gained a lot of weight. So she felt really ugly and didn't want to be seen in public, especially by people that she knew. And I felt like in her heart, she wanted to stop the trial, but she didn't want to die and she didn't want to let any of us down. So both of my parents were absolutely miserable, but they couldn't communicate their misery to each other. This is another instance where it would have been so advantageous if they were working with mental health professionals, either solo, but especially if they had a couples therapist who is specialized in working with individuals with cancer and their loved ones, because I wasn't equipped to support them in these moments. The best that I could do was just kind of play both sides, so to speak. Like whenever my dad would complain about how he couldn't really have an honest dialogue with my mom about what was going on because she was suppressing and repressing her emotions, or about all the logistics of the trial and the expenses associated with it, I would commiserate with him because I really did feel aligned with the ways in which he was thinking. It was very rare that we were not on the same page. And then on the other side, whenever my mom would be annoyed with my dad or claim that he's not being supportive, I would honor and validate what she was hearing and feeling. And in the moments where I felt like she was really off base, I would actually push back to try to diffuse the situation and explain where I think my dad was actually coming from so that it would lessen the tension. This is a common challenge of being a caregiver for a parent. I dealt with it in some way throughout the entire time my mom was going through treatment. It just happens that the more dire that circumstances become, the more likely that parental conflict will worsen. I was and still am very fortunate to have a robust support system myself. I had a lot of friends during that period of time who were open to listening to everything that I was experiencing. Having that safe space was so important because when you triangulate everything, I couldn't be fully honest with either of my parents because I was speaking about them and I had thoughts about the circumstance. And I needed an outlet for those feelings, and that is what my friends provided me. And it didn't matter that none of them had direct experience with what I was going through because there was no real advice to give. Just like I can't give you all any advice if you ever find yourself in this situation. All I can say is that nothing in life is permanent, so just hang in there. In the next video I'll be releasing on December 23rd, I'll be talking about what a normal Lamson family Christmas was like. So hit subscribe, leave any questions in the comments. The link to my book, Losing Linda May, A Cancer Caregiving Memoir, is in the description, and I will see you all on the 23rd.